This is Contracts, Common Law Offer. I am Professor Scott DeVito. Let's begin. Today you will understand that offers create a power of acceptance and how that power ends. An offer is a manifestation of willingness to enter into a bargain so that the offeree knows his assent to the bargain is invited and will finalize the bargain. Please be aware that manifestation doesn't limit you just to writing. A manifestation of willingness can be a writing, it can be words that you speak, or it can be things that you do. When an offeror makes an offer to an offeree, the offeror creates a power in the offeree to accept that offer until that offer is terminated. And we're going to talk about how you terminate it in a moment. This is called the power of acceptance. So here you have Jim, who says, Pam, I'll pay you $5,000 to design my new house. That's the offer, and it creates a power of acceptance in Pam, the offeree. We can see this power of acceptance spelled out in the Restatement Second of Contracts, which says, the offer gives to the offeree a continuing power to complete the manifestation of mutual assent by acceptance of the offer. We can also see in the subsection 2 that that power may end when terminated. And it says a contract cannot be created by acceptance of an offer after the power of acceptance has been terminated in one of the ways listed in Section 36. And let's take a look at Section 36. It says an offeree's power of acceptance may be terminated by a rejection or counteroffer by the offeree, or lapse of time, or revocation by the offeror, or death or incapacity of the offeror or offeree. In addition, an offeree's power of acceptance is terminated by the non-occurrence of a condition of acceptance under the terms of the offer. We're going to focus in on subsection 1. So what's a rejection? It's the beginning of contracts law. You may not have all these terms in your head. A rejection is a manifestation of intention by the offeree not to accept an offer unless the offeree manifests an intention to take it under further advisement. So you can reject by saying no. But if you said, well, let me think about it, that's not a rejection. Here's an example. Once again, Pam, I will pay you $5,000 to design my new house. This creates the power of acceptance in the offeree. If she says, no way, that is too little money, the power of acceptance is lost due to rejection of the offer. What about counteroffer? That's another way in which the power to accept can lapse. A counteroffer is an offer. So be careful. If you want to prove something's a counteroffer, you're going to have to prove that it's also an offer. But it's an offer made by the offeree to his offeror. So it's going back in the other direction, relating to the same matter as the original and proposing a substitute bargain. What happens is an offeree's power of acceptance is terminated by making of a counteroffer unless the offeror has manifested a contrary intention. So that means that when I make the offer to you, you can say, hey, I do this for you. I paint your house for $3,000. What do you think about that? If you tell me a different price, it doesn't kill my price. It keeps it still alive. I've made it clear to you that I don't want your counteroffer to eliminate my offer. Or unless the counteroffer manifests the contrary intention of the offeree. So if I say to you, I'll paint your house for $3,000, and you say, I'm not sure if I can do that number. I'll have to think about it. But I know for a fact that I can agree right now to do it for $3,500. We've got a counteroffer there, but the offeree has set it up so that the counteroffer does not terminate the offer. Here's an example. Pam will pay you $5,000 to design my new house. Creates the power of acceptance in the offeree. She says, I would do it for $6,500. That counteroffer terminates the power of acceptance. We can also have the power of acceptance terminate through lapse of time. And that can be a time specified in the offer. I might say to you, hey, my offer to paint your house for $3,000 is going to stay open until Friday at 5 p.m. At Friday at 5:01 p.m., that offer's gone. If I don't specify a time, then the lapse of time happens after a reasonable period of time. And that's going to be circumstance specific. Some things may have a relatively short period of time. Some things may have a longer period of time. We can also lose the power to accept if we revoke. Now, there are two kinds of revocation. If it's direct revocation, it's going to be when the offeree receives from the offeror a manifestation of intent not to enter the proposed contract. So if I say to you, hey, I'll paint your house for $3,000, and you say, well, let me think about it. And then I call you up the next day before you've accepted, and I say, I'm revoking my offer, or I can't do your house for $3,000 anymore, or I can't paint your house. You, the offeree, have received from me a manifestation of intent not to enter the proposed contract. That's a revocation. Your power to accept is gone. If you've accepted before that, it's a separate issue. But once you've revoked, you can't accept. You can also have an indirect revocation, and that's when the offeree acquires reliable information that the offeror has taken definitive action inconsistent with the intention to enter the proposed contract. Go back to the painting the house example. I say to you, I'll paint your house starting June 1st, finishing June 7th for $3,000. You say, let me think about it. A couple of days later, you find out that I am going to be out of town from June 1st through June 10th. Perhaps I've won a trip. Perhaps I've decided to just go out of town. Well, you've received that information indirectly. Let's say you've heard it from a friend, or you've seen it posted by a friend on a Facebook account that they're going to go with your painter to Cancun on leaving June 1st, returning June 10th. Well, that's indirect communication that makes it pretty clear to you that that guy's taken action such that he's not going to be able to do the deal. That's indirect revocation. We can also have the power of acceptance go away or terminate when the offeree or the offeror dies. So I say to you, I will paint your house for $3,000. You say, let me think about it. The next day before you accept, I die. Well, your power to accept is gone. Or I say to you, I will paint your house for $3,000. You say, let me think about it. The next morning, you die. Power of acceptance terminates. In addition, if one of us becomes mentally incapacitated, then at that point, the power to accept terminates. Always remember with the power to accept that the termination can only occur if you haven't accepted. If you've accepted, then the contract is formed. If you haven't accepted and you still have the power to accept, you have to worry as to whether that power will terminate. We'll end here, and I want to recognize that we've not fully covered what happens with an offer, and that's because I want to keep these videos short, so they're accessible and they're not overwhelming, and because contract law builds on prior work. So we need to just build up these details slowly but steadily, and as we do, we'll add and we'll revisit concepts and we'll talk about them more. This has been Contracts, Common Law Offer. I am Professor Scott DeVito.